In this video, we will look at the many different professions that you will find in psychology. We're going to talk about many different types of psychologists, which are simply individuals who observe, analyze behavior patterns, develop theories on behavior. Some psychologists provide care directly to patients, and other psychologists conduct research. First of all, a clinical psychologist. Clinical psychologists will be found in clinics, mental hospitals. They can have a private office. They can be found in prisons. A clinical psychologist deal with people who have severe mental, emotional, or behavioral disorders, things that many of us will not face. A clinical psychologist will treat people who we would recognize as having some sort of issue, and it would be apparent. On the other hand, a counseling psychologist, they deal with people who have more common everyday problems. For example, how to deal with the loss of a loved one, bullying in school, career choices, marital issues. These are things that many of us will face. They can also be found in hospitals, schools, health departments, or clinics, but also have their own private practice as well. Clinical and counseling psychologists treat individuals directly. A social cultural psychologist is research-based. They study different norms in different cultures, in different regions. For example, as I said before in the last PowerPoint, some cultures, they shake hands when they greet, others bow. They look at different cultures and how we express emotion or how we raise children. And what behaviors do different cultures have? A developmental psychologist is also research-based. Developmental psychologists study changes from the womb to the tomb. They look at social changes, cognitive changes, and physical changes that occur throughout our lifespan. One of the most famous developmental psychologists we will talk about later on in this course is Jean Piaget. An educational psychologist is also research-based. They try to investigate strategies to improve teaching. They try to come up with strategies that help children learn. They might look at different issues such as start times, where we find that many schools have piloted programs where they start later in the day and end a little bit later in the day. We find that the adolescent brain operates different than an adult brain. The melatonin is released much later in an adolescent. And then if we expect one to sleep for at least 7 hours to feel fully rested, and they still have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning to get to school, most adolescents aren't fully rested and very alert early in the morning. And we have found that based on these research studies, when students are allowed to start a little bit later in the day, test scores do improve and attendance rates go up as well. They have also looked at things in the past like inclusion classrooms, also school uniforms, just trying to investigate anything that would have an impact on student learning and the way teachers teach. Industrial organizational psychologists, or sometimes just simply represented as I/O psychologists, you'll find them in the workplace, whether it is a big corporation or business, government agency. What they are trying to do is improve an employee's quality of work, trying to make them more productive. A lot of times they will come up with different motivational strategies to try and make workers happier, which will cause them to be more productive. Sports psychology involves trying to enhance participation and performance of athletes. So again, maybe coming up with team building activities in order to promote coherence among the players, try to improve an athlete's performance, but also providing counseling services. You have a professional athlete, and if they become injured, that is their livelihood. It's going to be a very sad situation for them, and they would need a lot of guidance. Also, would be a lot of work with helping them deal with the public and public relations. Human factors psychology involves trying to take technology or machinery and make them more efficient and safer for people to use. Trying to take something that's very complex and making it easy for us to actually use. I think of an ATM machine. If you took the front panel off and you saw all the wires inside of an ATM machine, it would seem very complex. So here, this complex machine is so easy for us to use. We just push in our card, push a couple buttons, and our money comes out. And that's what human factors psychologists are trying to work towards. Forensic psychologists have become very popular recently. They would be found working on crime scenes, looking at profiling in crime labs, testifying as expert testimony in a courtroom, working with lawyers and police, but also in universities. And finally, we have psychiatrists who make the big bucks. This is a psychologist who also has a medical degree. So in addition to providing therapy services for their clients, they can also prescribe medication. For those psychologists who are research-based, there are two types of research that can be conducted. First of all, basic research is just research for knowledge's sake, just gathering data. This would be like the genetic code of a fruit fly. Or the example up here, studying how kissing changes when you get older. It might be interesting, but it's not something you're using in the real world to help benefit someone. Whereas applied research is practical. This is something that you can actually apply and use. So a good example here would be research on therapies for drug addicts. It's something you can use. Or looking at strategies to improve memory to help students on exams.